Hey guys, Meth here. Today I'm going to be bringing you a tips, tricks and strategies video for the light flanker tank. So let's get straight into it. So what are you good at in the light flanker tank? You're very good at engaging multiple infantry targets very quickly. You're brilliant at sniping with it with the canister shell. You're good at engaging light vehicles effectively. And that 360 turret means if you're a player with good awareness, you can kill sneaky bastards who are coming up behind you. You might not be surprised to discover that you're quite good at flanking with this tank, more on that later. And if you're careful, you can harass main tanks and kill them if you approach the engagement correctly. Okay, so what are you not good at in a light tank? You're not good at engaging heavy armor. You have to be really careful with that. Being the first person to contest a flag that's held by the enemy is generally not a good idea in the light tank. You're also not very good at moving rapidly. The light tank only moves at the speed of a sprinting player, and soaking up damage is pretty much one of your weak points. So now we've gone over the flanker tank's strengths and weaknesses, let's talk about 3 things that you should be aware of and good at if you're going to drive any kind of tank. So the first thing is using the third person view. Use it constantly. Fire from the first person view where possible, but also learn to be accurate in the third person view. The second thing is pillaring and cover. Use a piece of solid cover to peek, fire and then retreat behind when you're engaging a person or another tank. Whilst this technique applies to all tanks, it will be your mainstay in the flanker tank because you're so weak. Don't be predictable. Peek and fire from both ends of that cover. Be random, so don't peek the same side 3 times in a row. Be unpredictable. A good assault player will set up his shot for the edge of your cover, so when you peek, he will fire at the edge that he's expecting you to peek from. Sometimes, actually coming out from your cover and continuing to move will mean that he misses his shot because he's going to be aiming for the edge of the cover, expecting you to kind of half show yourself and then retreat, but actually what you did is continue right on out, he misses the back of you, and then you can fire at him and then retreat again. And the third thing is learning to drive backwards. This will probably be the most useful trick you learn. Drive backwards in third person view. Try to become as confident driving backwards, cornering backwards, backing up into narrow alleyways, you name it, as you are doing it forwards. Practice this until it's second nature. I think being able to drive backwards effectively is as important as being able to aim effectively. Okay, so we've gone over some of the basics. Let's get specific now. Let's talk about some strategies for the flags whilst you're in the flanker tank. So the first one is kind of obvious really, but early game flags. You know, you've just spawned in, the first thing you saw me do was I headed straight towards a flag. You're slow at the beginning of the game, so you may as well cap the first couple of flags. Just get on them with everybody else and earn yourself some points, get yourself halfway up the scoreboard before the game started. Now this one's really important, defending flags. People don't defend flags enough as it is. Back caps are often done by 1 or 2 people. And with a flanker tank and some awareness, you've got the range, firepower and accuracy to kill those back cappers as they're approaching the flag before they manage to get to cover. You see a flag behind you getting capped, make it your business to retake that flag. Use your range and splash damage to force people out of cover, and from inside buildings get them out of those buildings and kill them. The last thing you want in a flanker tank is to be pushing a flag, have the flag behind you get capped, and without you realising it, you have 2 or 3 assault guys coming up behind you who'll be dead before you know what's happening. Okay, so we've talked about early game flags, we've talked about defending flags, what about attacking flags? Rule number 1, and this pretty much applies to any of the Battlefield games, in a tank, don't overextend yourself. It's the fastest way to die. You must have seen those scenarios where a heavy tank goes piling into the middle of an enemy flag, and before they know what's happening they've had 6 or 7 grenades thrown at them, they're disabled, they're unable to go anywhere, they've blown through their health regen, and that's it, it's game over for them. So how do you know if you've overextended yourself in a tank? Well, the easy way is to look on the minimap. Can you see any blue around you? No, then you've overextended yourself. When you're pushing towards an objective in a tank, make sure that you're doing that along with other people from your team. Try not to get ahead of the blue line, you know, the front line of your troops as you head towards an objective. Be surrounded by your team because they'll protect your flanks, they'll protect your rear as you push towards an objective. And when you get towards that objective, don't get straight on it. Hold back. Use your firepower, use your splash damage to pin the enemy down, to kill the enemy, to bring down walls, bring down buildings. Basically, support your team as they go in on that flag. And because you haven't overextended yourself, you know that your flanks and your rear are still safe because you're in friendly territory. Another thing that you can do is to flank around the flag and look for where the enemy are coming from, the next nearest flag that they're pushing from towards the flag that you and your team are wanting to contest, and put yourself on the flank of that line so that you can cut off the enemy as they're trying to push onto the flag by either cutting off fresh enemy troops to the flag that you're contesting, or by just softening up the flag that you're contesting. You allow your team to get a foothold on the flag. Once the flag is half or 3/4 capped, get your tank on it, get some points, and job done. So we've talked about all things flags. Let's talk about flanking for a moment. For a start, you travel at the infantry run speed, so plan your journey or your route sufficiently. Don't waste time heading to a distant flag that's half capped. It's going to be capped long before you get there, so think about where you're going because you're pretty slow moving in a flanker tank. As you're flanking the enemy or flanking your way to some objective, one of the things that you're really pretty good at in a flanker tank is the anti-sniper role. You will see snipers lined up all around the peripherals of flags, normally quite a distance away from them because they're trying to use their sweet spot mechanics to their best advantage. But you've got a canister shell, and seriously, that thing is devastating against snipers who are stationary. They're just idiots. They're just going to get killed so quickly. If the sniper knows what they're doing, they'll be behind some cover, they'll be ducking and weaving, they'll be constantly on the move. Bit more difficult for you, but you've got... that canister shell is crazy. It's so easy to kill people with. It's got no drop, and it travels almost instantly. So use it to great effect, clear out all the snipers and the kind of entrenched assault on your flank to wherever you're going. It's probably worth mentioning for a moment that the range on the canister shell is also insane. You can pick off snipers from so far away. It's just ridiculous. Just use the whole cartridge, just spam it in their general direction, and they're either going to die or they're going to move. So yeah, works. As you get close to the flag that you're kind of flanking towards, try not to approach flags whereby windows or doorways or good cover is facing you, because that's where they're going to be. That's where the people with the rockets are going to be hiding. Try and approach flags from the less travelled paths directions, if that makes any sense. And as I mentioned before, most players travel in straight lines from flag to flag, so as you're approaching a flag, try and put yourself on the flank of the line between those two flags, so that you're effectively attacking the line of troops who are advancing from the flag that they've just captured to the flag that you're contesting. And you can get some amazing flanks off on them, and you can decimate their ranks, and they might never even make it to the flag that you're pushing onto. The other thing to bear in mind is heavy tanks also tend to be driven in a straight line from flag to flag. Wait until they get on or near a flag and are engaged by your team. As soon as you see them back off from the flag, the chances are they've probably taken enough damage to worry them. They've probably just popped their auto repair feature, and this is the best time to hit them from the side, from cover, and with the help of your team you will take them out really quickly. Let's talk a little bit more about engaging heavy tanks. So anything that isn't a light tank is a heavy tank as far as you're concerned. The moment you see a heavy tank, you must be thinking of your exit strategy. Where can you go that's safe or safer than where you are once they start shooting at you, especially if they hit you? Don't engage them unless the situation is in your favour. A single hit from a heavy tank will disable you. You will then need to pop your track repair gadget, which gives you mobility back again and a little bit of health, and back up. You need to make certain that you're heading towards where your exit strategy was, because another shot will kill you. In short, be wary of heavy tanks. Only engage them if you think you're going to win the fight. Another real danger to you are assault players who use cover. They can disable you really fast, and they can hide while they're readying follow-up shots. Never ever stop moving in a tank. When an assault player engages you from cover, turn either to 45 or maybe 90 degrees to them so that your movement is across their field of vision, making you that much harder to hit. I personally prefer 45 degrees. It allows me to back up and put distance between me and them, whilst also moving sideways and making their shots harder. Backing up and zigzagging works too. When they've missed with all of their grenades, they're going to lie down and use the rocket gun on you. That's your moment to pull out the canister shell and shit all over them. They need line of sight to use the rocket gun, which means you can shoot them and kill them. If you see a group of assaults moving towards you, my advice would be to back up. As you put distance between you and them, just keep spamming fire at them, and they'll either give up or you'll kill them all. One neat trick that I do all the time in the flanker is lobbing shots. The main cannon has a fairly heavy drop to it, which means that you can park yourself behind low cover, get into third person perspective, aim high and lob shots over that cover at, say, a heavy tank who can't even see you. And you know, maybe after the first 4 or 5 shots you're gonna have figured out the range and the elevation to hit them with, and you can unload loads of salvos at them before they can manage to close the distance and engage you, by which time they may be 3/4 damaged and you can maybe even win that fight. My last point is those little blue dots all around you are friendlies. Try and do your best to actually shield them. If somebody tries to repair you, then turn your tank so that they don't get sniped whilst they're repairing you. And also, if you're pushing towards a flag with some guys, put yourself between them and the enemy fire so that they can get onto the flag safely. In summary, don't overextend, learn to drive backwards well, engage a tank when you're confident of winning. Infantry are comically easy to kill. Prioritise assaults when killing infantry. You're a force multiplier, use your firepower and splash to make it easy for your team to cap flags, and profit. So I hope you've enjoyed this tips, tricks and strategies video. Please leave comments or questions below, it'd be great to hear from you. And if you liked, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. Take care and I'll see you out there.